What's up, everyone? My name is ZayNews, and welcome to episode 1 of the ZayNews Podcast. We are going to be talking about all things hoops, NBA, college ball. You ask questions, we'll respond to them, we'll engage with them. Really, the focus here is just to create a laid-back environment where we can talk about sports, NBA specifically, and basketball, the game that we all love. And that's what I want to do here today. So make sure if you like the comment, you leave a comment or a question. I really want those questions to start flying so that we can make sure to address them here. And again, if you like the comment, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So for today, we'll keep the podcast episode 1 pretty short, see how it goes, see how you guys like it, see how you're vibing with it. We'll try to keep it lighthearted, maybe throw in some jokes in between. And again, we just want to see what this blossoms into. So there's a few topics I wanted to talk to today, but I want to be transparent in that I'm a Lakers fan. So the Lakers will definitely be being talked about in this podcast, in this space pretty consistently, just because I watch 90% of their games. You know what I'm saying? So I want to start with the Lakers and just kind of where they're at this season, from an hopefully as objective of a perspective as you can find from a fan, right? So Lakers are on a good win streak, right? I think they've won 3 in a row now. They just beat the Warriors yesterday, last night, and a couple days before that, they also beat the Boston Celtics. Now, I will not lie and say Boston played their best basketball in that game, because they assuredly did not. They weren't hitting the 3 ball like they normally do. Lakers had a great game plan, but it just seemed like Boston's core group of guys were pretty off. But with that being said, it does seem like this season, or not this season specifically, but this time of year with the trade deadline approaching, has really put a pep in the Lakers' steps about the last 3 to 4 games. You know what I'm saying? I think before that they were in a bit of a slump, and trust me, it was a pain to watch. But for whatever reason, getting Dorian Finney-Smith, getting Jared Vanderbilt coming back off the injury list has really sparked some energy in them. And to be quite honest with you guys, they've been playing good basketball. Now, the problem with the Lakers, especially if you're a fan, pretty much since, and I think all fans can agree with me on this, pretty much since they won the championship COVID year, they have massively underachieved pretty consistently. I don't think they've played to their capability at any singular point since then. Maybe you could argue the playoff run that they had, where they made it to the conference finals and wound up losing to Denver 2 seasons ago, but even that never felt like they were quite playing to their full potential. Now, what's exciting about where they're at now, I think, is the what if, right? There's a pretty big what if on who we can go and get and who can really make this Lakers team a legitimate contender. Because if we're being honest and transparent, I don't know if we are that right now. Maybe if our defense takes a very big turn and we get back to being the dominant defensive force that we were in 2020, I could potentially see it happening, but I think more than likely we're going to need to make a pretty big move in order to make ourselves a really, I say ourselves like I'm playing, but make the Lakers a legitimate title contender. So in saying all that, let's talk about some moves that they could make that I think would upgrade them into that stature, and moves that I don't. So firstly, moves that I don't. We all know that the Lakers need a big. Anthony Davis came out and was very open about how he felt. You know, it's been in the media for quite a while that AD preferred to play the 4. AD never really outrightly came out and said it. He's just been a G, right? He's just been grinding, banging with the big dogs at that center position pretty much since we won the championship. But we all knew he wanted to transition to the 4. So first and foremost, I think prioritizing the Lakers front office, prioritizing getting a big. It sounds like that's what they're doing. I think it's the biggest move that we can make. Now, Bulls center, his name is escaping me right now, is not the move by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know why his name is escaping me, but just I think the lack of defense with what we're trying to do is not where we want to be at. You know what I'm saying? I think that puts us in a position where he can only play spotty minutes. He's a liability on the defensive end of the floor. And overall, I don't know if that is going to build the type of basketball club that we want to have out there on the floor, to be quite honest with you. So I don't think Bull Center is the move. Don't know why his name is escaping me. I just had it at the tip of my tongue. But that's a move that I would say no to. Now, Miles Turner is someone who the Lakers have been circling for the past 3-4 years. Before he signed his big deal, they were talking about doing a sign and trade for Miles Turner. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen then. And for whatever reason, it's happening now. Now, the Pacers have seemed to turn around their season a little bit recently and have been playing much better basketball than at the start of the season. They have a pretty decent balance. They've gotten some guys back and in the rotation from injuries. But it seems that they are still willing to see what the trade market is for Miles Turner. And I'll tell you what, if Miles Turner is available, I think he's about 29 to 30, a couple years younger than AD, I would really push for him. So much as so, like, there's not many guys I was saying that I think it'd be worth giving up your 2 first-round picks. I think I would justify at least giving up one of our first-round picks for a guy like Miles Turner. Miles Turner is a really good above-average center. He provides a lot of value on the defensive end of the floor, contesting shots at the rim. He can make shots, which is a huge bonus. Similar to the Bull Center over there, but I think better athlete, better defender, less holes in his game, can play more, right? He's not going to get played off the floor in playoff series like Nikola would. So I love it, man. I really like Vucevic. Yeah, Vucevic. There it is, the Bull Center, Vucevic. So I really like the Miles Turner move. If that could happen, I'd be a big advocate for making that happen. Now, a lot of Lakers fans have been talking about Walker Kessler. He's a young guy. I think he could be good for years to come, but he's not Miles Turner, especially not at this point in his career. He's pretty decent. He's pretty solid defensively, but I would definitely prioritize Miles Turner. And honestly, it sounds like you may be able to get Miles Turner for cheaper than Kessler, which I guess, I mean, Kessler's like 23, 24. He's a bit younger, but like, I don't know, guys. If there's one guy who I think a trade could really enhance the Lakers and what they're trying to do, along with getting these guys off the injury reserve list, right? Like, man, I think the Lakers could become a pretty scary ball club. And honestly, I think they're already on their way to, like, once March rolls around, if these guys stay on the court, you know, Jared Vanderbilt can get his reps, Dorian Finney-Smith stays in the starting lineup, watch out, because that defense is going to be something serious. The idea that you have Max Christie in the starting lineup with either Jared Vanderbilt or Dorian Finney-Smith, I think one of those two guys is going to have to move into the starting lineup. And then you have the other coming off the bench to guard again. Like, that's a heck of a lineup. And then you got Gabe Vincent playing great basketball and stuff. You mix in a Miles Turner to that, you know, a guy who can play alongside AD, and he could, you know, play when AD's off the court and stuff. Yeah, I really like what our fortunes would be looking like. I'm not saying that we would become the favorites to win an NBA championship, right? You're still, you know, your primary scorer down the stretch is still a 40-year-old guy, and LeBron, who is that dude, right? LeBron is that dude, but, you know, he's still 40. And you got to go through teams like the Denver Nuggets, which, regardless of the moves we make, Denver is always going to match up well with us just because we play a similar pace of basketball. And you're going up against the best player in the world. So, and then you got, you know, SGA and those guys over at OKC. You got the Houston Rockets, who have a hell of a defense right now, right? Like, the West is always a son of a gun to get through, but, you know, I think we would definitely be up there, you know, in the top four teams in the West, without a doubt. So, if there was one thing I could say, I really like the trajectory that the Lakers are on right now. My goal, right, like when I'm looking at their record, if they're 25-18 right now, if they could get to 30-20, I really like that standing, right? That's going to pretty much assure that they stay out of the play-in. And I think that'll give them a wide enough margin to stay out of the play-in, regardless of how those last 30 games go. Even if they went like 500 over their last 30 games, it gives them a little bit of a cushion. Now you can start giving AD, you know, some games off, you know, sparingly when he needs them, and keep him fresh going into the playoffs without the worry of, like, you know, records hanging over your shoulder. So I think that move would be huge. I think if the Lakers could get to 30-20, 10 games over 500, that would be huge for their fortunes as you get into, the later parts of the season. Because the reality is, regardless of who you play, we're probably not going to be a top 3 seed, so we're going to be playing a team that is going to give us a run for our money in that first round. So you might as well take care of work now. On the back end, give these guys, AD and LeBron especially, some time to recover. Allow those dogs, Vanderbilt, Max, Christie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Austin Reeves, to really get after it, to really get comfortable with this new system that they're kind of being thrown into, and then playoff time is just off to the races from there. So I'm excited to see that. So transitioning. I've talked about the Lakers for a minute now. To the Warriors, because the Warriors just played the Lakers, right? And just talking more so about the Warriors struggles. So I talked about the Warriors early in the season, and it's funny because I got a lot of pushback for not including the Warriors in like who my dark horses or who would my favorites be to come out of the West when they were playing really well. Early in the season, I think they were like 14-7 or something like that, right? They had a really strong record the first like month or two of the NBA season. And Warriors fans, there's a ton of them now, you know what I'm saying, the Steph Curry effect. But I always had to push back on that a little bit because I didn't necessarily believe in the way that they were playing. Now, they were playing a lot of bodies. They and it was working for them, right? They were subbing in and out a lot. Dudes were playing like 25 minutes a game. Everybody was getting shots. They were sharing the wealth. And it wasn't so much that I didn't think they could continue to do that through the regular season, but I thought that play style was not going to work in the playoffs, right? Playing deep lineups, because naturally, no matter what team you are, how you play, benches naturally shrink when you get into the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And if you're used to playing a 12-man lineup, what does it look like when you all of a sudden, change your scheme completely and start playing an 8-man rotation, right? Or maybe a 9-man rotation, depending on the guys that you're throwing out there. So it was just a strange dynamic to me that we really haven't seen work in the NBA playoffs, that I was unsure about. So that's why I'd always question them. And I don't think, obviously, those questions haven't changed for me. Now, they've made a few trades. They've had a few changes. They've had some guys coming out in and out of their lineups due to injuries, like Draymond's currently out nursing some injuries. But I think for now, like with where they're at, Steph's like in a similar situation to LeBron, where like he can't continue to carry the load. That 2022 run was incredible, and I think that was the last time you realistically could have expected him to carry so much of the offensive, burden and get, have a deep run. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. And now they have young guys who they've been trying to build up who didn't, come into the league with those vets like Steph, like Draymond, and they want a little bit of that shine too, right? Like they're trying to go get their money. They're trying to play their way, into these big time situations, these big time roles, and it's hard when you're still trying to play the same way that you were when Steph, Draymond, and Clay were in their prime, without making too many adaptations. So I'm not sure about the Warriors, to be honest with you guys. I think they're probably going to stay around the play-in hunt. They'll definitely be in the play-in game, but as far as them getting out of that, the West is too competitive, man. And when you start getting, at 500 or below 500, it's really, really hard to dig your way out of that. And you got hungry teams in that mix, right? You got the Sacramento Kings with some young, hungry dudes in there. You got the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are not going to lay down for nobody, right? Like, Ant Edwards is a dog. He loves to compete. He's going to show up to compete, and he's only like 23, right? 23, 24. So it's a little bit different, man, and it's tough once you get into that space to really dig yourself out of it. Now, there's still a lot of season left, but it seems like all the teams who are solidifying themselves in the top 6 aren't going anywhere, right? Like like Houston, who suspected Houston to be this good? They had pieces, but who expected them to be this good? I don't know. So I don't expect them to fall off. Memphis, when Ja's out on the court, it's just a different team, right? And the aura that they play with, right, is really, even Edey, right? Like Edey be walking around bullying dudes. He may only have 6.6 boards, but he's out there acting like a dog out there on their court, and I love it. So I don't see any of those teams necessarily falling off to a point where it's going to make room for teams to creep in there. The one team that I was unsure about is my team in the Lakers, to be honest. The Clippers too, I guess. Both of those teams, you don't know about injuries and stuff with the Clippers, so, but it seems like those two teams are moving in a positive trend and a positive trajectory, and the others just aren't. So, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a tough one for the Warriors. Maybe they win in the play-in, maybe they don't. To be honest with you, right now, like, I think they'd have a hard time with Sacramento in a play-in game, and they'd have a hard time with Minnesota. So work's cut out for them for sure. But we'll see. We'll see where they go, man. Who knows? Last thing I want to touch on, and I'll let you guys go. I'm definitely, as we get, more and more into this podcast, I'm going to be talking about more topics. Going to try and keep things up to relevant news. I don't want to just talk about, historical basketball every time I'm on this podcast. The GOAT debate, who's better out of this guy historically versus that guy historically. I really want to shed light onto the players now and the game that's being played now. That's not to say there won't be some of those debates, right? Those debates do get the clicks, right? They do get and they're just overall fun to talk about, occasionally as well. So yeah, I suspect that I'll talk about some of that as well. But for the most part, really want to keep it to what's going on, especially during the NBA season. Young talent, up and coming talent, stuff like that, and whatnot. So last thing I really want to talk about was just college basketball and who should be the number one pick. I think it's pretty clear at this point that Cooper Flag just has to be the number one pick. Ace Bailey, watching him play, he's a tremendous talent, so skilled, so tough. It's probably definitely out of those two in the top two. I would say just from conversations and what I'm hearing on draft boards and all that sort of stuff. I think Ace Bailey might have a higher ceiling, and I think that's what people get hung up on watching him play. He's a very fluid scorer, 6'10", athletic, has all the skills, can score at pretty much every level. But I think there's more of an inherent risk with Ace Bailey and his play style as opposed to Cooper Flag. So if Ace's ceiling is higher, one, it's not by much. And two, I think his baseline is much lower than Cooper Flag. So I think Cooper Flag, worst case scenario, is a better player than Ace Bailey, worst case scenario. So if you're a GM looking at that, right, like, and you're trying to mitigate risk and really make sure that you make the right pick, like, Cooper Flag is going to be a good player. Whether he's an all-star or not, that, whether he's like, a 25-10 guy or whatever you see him to be, can be debated. If he reaches his peak, can be debated. But like, him at his worst is going to be a very good NBA player. Ace Bailey, with his play style, if he gets into the wrong system, you could foresee him struggling for quite a while, because not every team is probably going to want him to or allow him to play the style of game that he's currently playing in college, right? A lot of ill-advised shots, a lot of shots that don't necessarily enhance the chemistry of a team, and don't necessarily lead to winning basketball. That's not to say he's not taking shots that he can't make, right? Because he can make a lot of those shots, but you also have to look at it from the perspective of like, how does it affect your team's ability to win at a high level? You know what I'm saying? So, or and this is the caveat, right? Because he could end up being so good that like those shots just like, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And I think, he's a young guy, right? Like, he has a way to go, a lot to learn, and I think he will do that. I think he will take those steps. Right, but if you're a GM or a team looking at that, right, like Cooper Flag seems to be, right, like the safer pick. I could see Cooper Flag coming in next year averaging like 14 and 8. 8-4 or something like that, and just being a very solid player, hitting shots, making athletic plays, defending the ball at a pretty high level, being a dog of a competitor. You know what I'm saying? And I could also see Ace Bailey on the flip side if he doesn't get to a team where he's allowed to just be free in the offense, and I hope he does, because honestly, that's going to be the best thing for his growth. But if he doesn't, right, and they try to like restrict him too much, right, like they're just being pushed back there, and it really affecting his growth. So I hope he gets to the team that he needs to get to. I hope Cooper does as well. I would say right now, just by how the race is going and what I've observed, I would say Cooper Flag is the safer pick. And I'm not saying he's going to be the better player, but I think he's the safer pick at this point, in terms of like, if either of them, like his worst is higher than Ace Bailey's worst. So hopefully I broke that down good for you guys. I wanted to keep it to 20 minutes today, so that's the last topic I'm going to be talking about. But again, I'm going to be talking about more teams, shedding light on more great stuff. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Like, how can you go 20 minutes without talking about those guys? Just been hooping. The Oklahoma City Thunder, another team. Both of those teams are going to win around 60 games, it's looking like, by the end of this season. So it's been an exciting year. All the negativity surrounding the NBA and where the league is currently at in terms of its competitiveness, the level of basketball being played, I honestly don't get it, to be honest with you guys. I think we're in a great place with where the NBA is at. I think since like 2017, 2018, the NBA has done such a good job of coming out of that era of, ticky-tack foul calls, the game being controlled by the referees, or players just finding gimmicks in the game to make it work and stuff, right? Like this is, to me, probably the best state of the game since we kind of entered this 3-point era, right? It seems like we're, teams are starting to, through analytics, through just trial and error, starting to understand where they need to be at, where they can get good offense at. Certain teams shoot too many threes. Typically, if it's not the Boston Celtics, it's the bad teams who are shooting bad, ill-advised threes and stuff like that. The Celtics, they shoot a lot of threes, but their system most definitely works. So I like where the game is at right now. I think we need to continue uplifting it. I think we need to continue shedding light on the positive things that are happening in the game, because it's only going to help grow it. It's only going to help shed light onto the positivity and all that sort of stuff, and it's just going to make for a better atmosphere as we talk about sports. So wish y'all the best. Know that I'm gonna try and start dropping these at least weekly. I'm gonna probably mix in other topics, not just the NBA. Maybe after this weekend, after the conference championships in the NFL, we'll talk a little bit about how the Chiefs-Bills go and the Commanders-Eagles go, stuff like that. Mix in some personal stuff as well, family topics, all that sort of stuff. I'm a dad of 2 kids, so got to mix that stuff in as well. But hope you guys liked it. If you did like it, make sure you drop a like on here, leave a comment, ask a question. If there's anything you want me to talk about, anything you want me to address, anything you want to debate me on, I'm happy to talk about all that stuff, and I love answering questions. So looking forward to chatting more with you guys, giving you guys more content, and we'll talk soon. Peace.